Hey, this is Dan Harris, host of the 10% Happier podcast. I'm here to tell you about a new series we're running this September on 10% Happier. The goal is to help you do your life better. The series is called Reset. It's all about hitting the reset button in many of the most crucial areas of your life. Each week, we'll tackle a topic like how to reset your nervous system, how to reset your relationships, how to reset your career. We're going to bring on top-notch scientists and world-class meditation teachers to give you deep insights and actionable advice. It's all delivered with our trademark blend of skepticism, humor, credibility, and practicality. 10% Happier is self-help for smart people. Come join the party.
Most people think that building a brand or building a business, or we'll say branding in general, is about building something new. My opinion, it's about monetizing your truth, which you already have. And that's what we're going to talk about in this episode. I'm going to make the case for why you are your first and forever brand, if that makes sense. All right? This is Melcode. What is good, world? It is your boy, Steph Melvin, a.k.a. Stefan Amir, and I'd like to welcome you back to Melcode. Episode 2. We're titling this one, The Business of Being You. Okay, as I said before our intro, I briefly touched on monetizing your truth. Let me explain what I mean by that. In my opinion, the real profit comes when you live in your truth. As I said in episode 1, it's easier to be yourself than it is to be someone you're not. All right, so let's dive into that. Code 1, identify your equity. All right. What I mean by this is that you are your first product, okay? Your story, what you value, how you move, your rhythm, your unique marketing position, your niche, relating to how do you want people to think about you or your business when they think of you. All of these things go into that factor. When we're looking at branding from this perspective, you don't chase trends. Who you are in essence is different from what's out here. It's a matter of how you want to go about amplifying that and delivering that to the public. But for the most part, in root and core, who you are and what you lay down is enough. One of the best examples of this kind of applied behavior, Kanye West. I feel like that kind of just says everything that I needed to say. Kanye. It's a representation of amplified self is the brand. Expect musical genius, you expect over-the-top fashion, you expect, the craziest statements. All of these things play a role into what his actual brand is. And his brand has kind of always walked this controversial line when it comes to media, talking about things that, others may not want to talk about or vocalize or just don't speak on. He's managed to build an empire. But again, not just entertainers. There are other types of business people, entrepreneurs. Another good example would be Gary Vee. Gary Vee is personal brand oriented. In fact, this is something he speaks about very often in a lot of his early podcasts and a lot of his branding advice. Personal brand and what you stand for and what you represent is power. So yeah, identify your equity. May take some deep diving, but sit down, take some notes, really get to the bottom of what do you value? What is my story? What inspired me to start X, Y, and Z or to dive into X, Y, and Z? All of these things become a part of your message, and these are the things that make you humanly relatable for consumers and clients or whatever, fans, whatever it is that you may be trying to accomplish, relate to you and, ultimately subscribe to what you're selling. Code 2, the brand behind the scenes. Okay, let me explain what I mean by this. When I say the business of being you, that means building systems around your pre-existing energy may be applied with more discipline if necessary. Okay, so for example, if you're talking business, we're going time management. We're going your mission statement. We're going your sustainability plan, right? But when we're talking identifying it from a personal standpoint, that just means boundaries, intentions, and self-care. Does that make sense? Rewind. Time management would be boundaries. Your mission statement, your intentions. Sustainability, how can you handle it? Keeping up with it. All of these factors play a role in a script, no one more important than the other. All right? Protect what you need to protect. Mental, spiritual, physical health. Otherwise, you can't do what it takes to handle your business. When you're physically or spiritually not tapped in, it's impossible and very draining trying to regulate yourself. Do what you need to do to microdose and cater to self first, because that is the foundation. How just not paying attention to these little things can have a trickle-down effect in the long run. You know, if your business is more physical and you're not doing what you need to do for your physical health, what does that do? For example, I'm an entertainer. I'm out here performing and dancing and all the other great things, but if I'm not doing what I need to do physically, I'm not staying up with my gym regimen, my workout regimen, my health regimen, my green smoothies, my so on and so forth, I'm physically going to be unable to do what I need to do that makes me the entertainer that I am, that makes me unique within the ecosystem. Does that make sense? All right. So factor that in, especially that self-care. That goes into your sustainability plan. You know, let's reiterate. Time management is just your boundaries. Your mission statements is just your intentions. And your sustainability plan is your self-care. All right. And again, I'm going to repeat this. It is not selfish to guard your intelligence or your intellect or your insight, especially your energy. It is all part of your infrastructure. Okay? Great. Let's move forward. Okay. Now, this next one is a biggie. This is something I had to learn and honestly am still learning in my 10 years of doing business. All right? But this is the truth. All right? You ready? Permission to profit. One thing that I know is very common with entrepreneurs that are starting out is not knowing your price points. I know when I started the Versus brand back in 2014, that was something I struggled with between understanding manufacturing cost and then factoring in my own personal time. Okay. You know, you start off with the I feel bad for charging that, or, you know, I want to be able to compete with but then it's like, you know, you get smacked with reality. For example, you won't buy my $30 hoodie that you picked the colors out and had me get everything together with your name custom on it. $30 is too much. But the hoodie that you're wearing, which was $120 from a brand that doesn't recognize you, not customized, and 30 other people outside are wearing that right now, 2 of which we saw at the mall earlier. You understand what I'm saying? The fact that anyone who has my brand in the 10 years that I've had my brand, almost no one has the same exact pieces. And if they happen to, no one has worn the same exact one as someone else at the same exact time. Okay? Like, you know, for me personally, that's kind of another niche about me too, personal stamp wise, is that any t-shirt or hoodie that you get from me, I printed myself. Even in the times that I've worked with manufacturers, you know, I ended up relinquishing them from that responsibility because that's something that was personal to me. You know, the hoodies and t-shirts of anything are the most important to me to always continue to print self until, you know, I can't anymore from a, you know, demand standpoint. But yeah, that personal touch is, you know, something that I run with within my brand, and I encourage you to find yours. However, in regards to the financial piece, time is money as well, and you want to factor that in. You know, all of these things play a role into why you should not be selling yourself short in any way, shape, or form, especially if you're the person, you know, upfront in the cost for a product. Depending on what your business is, there's a lot of spend before profit, and you know, when you're actually spending, you want to see that profit. And so don't rob yourself based on what relationships are or relationships you have with people. You know, don't rob yourself based on, you know, just feeling like, you know, you want to be able to compete with the other masses. Like, if people want it, they will buy it. That's been proven time and time again. Okay? And if what you value is relatable enough or in demand enough, the people will follow, no matter what your price point is, unless you're just being completely ridiculous. But again, depending on what it is you're doing, 9 times out of 10, you're not being ridiculous. Set yourself at a good price point. Ooh, I want to mention this too. Do not let people talk you out of your price. People will literally sit there and, I feel myself getting a little passionate about this, but like, I want you guys to understand. People will be really sly with trying to talk you down or finesse a pricing or whatever. Now, if you're, vending or something and you're street selling and whatever, working with people in a deal, whatever the case might be, that's a little bit more flexible. But for the most part, no compromise. Your price is your price and your business is your business. And if they don't want to pay that, they can take it elsewhere. That's just that on that. You feel me? So no emotional pricing, that guilt trip. And definitely when we're talking about stuff like this, I want y'all to get rid of that other myth that like artists don't work, or artists, art isn't money. If anything, that is what you price the highest. Things that are artistic. So all of that garbage. Your time is money. Your time plus your talent plus your integrity is your value. Value, money. All the same. Your worth. Let's get into the Amir method. All right, you guys, it is time to get into the Amir method, okay? Analyze, manifest, implement, and reinvent, all right? So, let's start off. Analyze. What parts of yourself have you been undervaluing, okay? Identify your value. Look at your notes. Be deep with yourself, too. Be honest with yourself. It will benefit you. You sell the people you without selling yourself short. Manifest. What kind of life supports me being me fully? Okay? So whatever you need to do, for some people it could be a career shift or maybe just some time shifting so that you have more time to focus in your craft. Start moving into the direction of the life that you want. Pretty self-explanatory. Okay, now let's get into the I. Implementing that mindset. Where can I package or present myself more boldly? As I said, it's yourself, maybe with more discipline. Okay? So, if you're an entertainer, hitting the gym, getting up your stamina, or if you're I don't know, a business mogul of some sort and trying to get into business, taking up more courses, webinars, classes, anything you need to do to start sharpening your knives, sharpening your arrows, do it. All right? Supporting yourself and implementing those things helps create the reinvention. Understand what I'm saying? Here we are. R, reinvent. Could be your name, your energy to kind of complement the amplified swag or whatever that is. Your name, that name needs to strike a feeling, an energy. That's the reinvention. What you morally stand on, what you illustrate, how you move is your name. That's your LLC. That's the reinvention. That's your first business. All right? I'd like to thank everyone for joining me this week. Again, my name was Stefan Amira, aka Steph Mel, and you have been listening to Mel Code. Oh, by the way, I'd like to thank everyone who did tune in and listen to episode 1. I've gotten a lot of great feedback. There's a lot of names that I actually had to list down. I wanted to shout a few people out, but I actually don't have that list in front of me at the moment. But you guys know who you are. If you listen to this week's episode, thank you for all of the positive love, comments, and feedbacks. This is a podcast that I've been wanting to do and start for a very, very long time. After finishing out SB Live, shout out to my homegirl, Tasia Dawn, who helped me carry that podcast. I wanted to do something that was a little bit more personal and in-depth, how I want to build forward and give back to my community through art and business. So everyone who listens and tunes in and shares, I appreciate you. I appreciate your time and all of that good stuff. Next week, we will be talking about how you're the blueprint. I have a bunch of things I want to get into about that. But again, these first 3 episodes are definitely foundation setting episodes, just to kind of set a foundation so that when I get into the more creative stuff, we're kind of all on the same page. But yes, again, this is Mel Code. This is a bit of what it's like. I'm so humbled. I'm so thankful. And I look forward to rocking with you guys in the next episode. All right. So again, peace out. Have a beautiful week. Take care.